prayers of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, all circumstances of life are arranged to teach us that beyond the mind, faith in the divine grace gives us the strength to go through all trials, to overcome all weaknesses, and find the contact with the divine consciousness, which gives us not only peace and joy, but also physical balance and good health. With always our love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri. Book 1, the Book of Beginnings. Canto 3, the Yoga of the Soul's Release. Page 40. Only a while at first these heavenlier states, these large, wide-poised upliftings could endure. The high and luminous tension breaks too soon. The body's stone stillness and the life's hushed trance. The breathless mind and calm of silent mind. Or slowly they fail as sets a golden day. The restless nether members tire of peace, a nostalgia of old little works and joys, a need to call back small familiar selves, to tread the accustomed and inferior way, the need to rest in a natural poise of fall, as a child who learns to walk can walk not long, replace the Titan will forever to climb. On the heart's altar dim the sacred fire. An old pull of subconscious chords renews. It draws the unwilling spirit from the heights, or a dull gravitation drags us down to the blind-driven inertia of our base. This too the supreme diplomat can use. He makes our fall a means for greater rise, for into the ignorant nature's gusty field, into the half-ordered chaos of mortal life, the formless power, the self of eternal light, follow in the shadow of the Spirit's descent. The twin duality forever one chooses its home mid the tumults of the sense. He comes unseen into our darker paths and, curtained by the darkness, does his work. A subtle and all-knowing guest and guide, till they too feel the need and will to change. All here must learn to obey a higher law. Our body cells must hold the immortal's flame, else would the spirit reach alone its source, leaving a half-saved world to its dubious fate. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, SABCL, Book The Mother, with letters. Topic: the condition for progress. Question: If a sadhak, even after a long time, cannot fully open himself to the mother, owing to obstacles in his nature, does it mean that he will not be accepted by the mother? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, there is no meaning in such a question. Those who follow the yoga, the integral yoga, here are accepted by the mother. For accepted means admitted into the yoga, accepted as disciples. But the progress in integral yoga and siddhi in the yoga depends on the degree to which there is the opening. Question X says that the mother told him that if the sincerity is perfect, there would be a transformation in a day. I do not understand how could that be possible. A long process of change and conversion compressed in a single day. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, by sincerity, mother meant being open to no influence but the divine's only. Now, if the whole being is sincere, in that sense, even to the very cell of the body, what could prevent the rapid transformation? People cannot be like that, however much the enlightened part of them may want to, because of the nature of the ignorance out of which the ordinary Prakriti has been built, hence the necessity of a long and laborious working. Next subtopic, progressive opening. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says openness to the Divine Mother is not always complete from the first. A part of the being opens, other parts of the consciousness remain still closed or half open only. One has to aspire till all is open to the consciousness of the Divine Mother. Even with the best and most powerful sadhaks, the full opening takes time. Nor is there anyone who has been able to abandon everything at once without any struggle. There is no reason to feel, therefore, that if you call, will not be heard by the mother. The mother knows the difficulties of human nature and will help you through. Persevere always, call always, and then after each difficulty, there will be a progress. It is by constant remembrance of the Divine Mother that the being is prepared for the full opening. By opening of the heart, the Mother's presence begins to be felt by the opening to her power above. By opening to her power above, the force of the higher consciousness comes down into the body and works there to change the whole nature. There is no method in this integral yoga except to concentrate, preferably in the heart, and call the presence and the power of the Divine Mother to take up the being, and by the workings of her force, transform the consciousness. One can concentrate also in the head or between the eyebrows, but for many this is a too difficult opening. When the mind falls quiet and the concentration becomes strong and the aspiration intense, then there is a beginning of experience. The more the faith, the more rapid the result is likely to be. For the rest, one must depend on one's own efforts only, but succeed in establishing a contact with the divine and a receptivity to the mother's power and presence. The direct opening of the psychic center is easy only when the egocentricity is greatly diminished, and also if there is a strong bhakti for the mother, a spiritual humility and sense of submission and dependence is necessary. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says yes. It is by quieting the mind that you will become able to call the mother and open to her. The soothing effect was a touch from the psychic, one of the touches that prepare the opening of the psychic with its gift of inner peace and love and joy. The mother's peace is above you. By aspiration and quiet self opening, it descends. When it takes hold of the vital and the body, then equanimity becomes easy and in the end automatic. Keep yourself open to the mother's force. Do not trust all forces. As you go on, if you keep straight, you will come to a time when the psychic becomes more predominantly active and the light from above prevails more purely and strongly, so that the chance of mental constructions and vital formations mixing with the true experience diminishes. As I have told you, these are not and cannot be the supramental forces. It is a work of preparation which is only making things ready for a future yoga siddhi. Let the mother work. Let the mother and the power of the mother work in you, but be careful to avoid any mixture or substitution in its place of either a magnified ego working or a force of ignorance presenting itself as truth. Aspire especially for the elimination of all obscurity and unconsciousness in the nature. If an adverse force comes, one has not to accept and welcome its suggestions, but to turn to the mother and to refuse to turn away from her. Whether one can open or not, one has to be loyal and faithful. Loyalty and fidelity are not qualities for which one has to do yoga. They are very simple things which any man or woman who aspires to the truth ought to be able to accomplish. Next subtopic, the only way to succeed. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, there is in a very fundamental part of your nature a strong formation of ego individuality which has mixed in your spiritual aspiration, a clinging element of pride and spiritual ambition. This formation has never consented to be broken up in order to give place to something more true and divine. Therefore, when the mother has put her force upon you, or when you yourself has pulled the force upon you, this in you has always prevented it from doing its work in its own way. It has begun itself building according to the ideas of the mind or some kind of ego, trying to make its own creation in its own way by its own strength, its own sadhana, its own tapasya. There has never been here any real surrender, any giving up of yourself freely and simply into the hands of the Divine Mother. And yet, that is the only way to succeed in the supramental yoga. To be a yogi, a sannyasi, a tapasvi is not the object here. The object is transformation, and the transformation can be done by a force infinitely greater than your own. It can be done by being truly like a child in the hands of the Divine Mother. Let me repeat. The object of integral yoga is transformation, and the transformation can be done by a force. The transformation can only be done by a force infinitely greater than your own. It can only be done by being truly like a child in the hands of the Divine Mother. Everyone, says our Lord, everyone who is turned to the Mother is doing my integral yoga. It is a great mistake to suppose that one can do the Purna Yoga, that is, carry out and fulfill all sides of the yoga by one's own effort. No human being can do that. What one can do is to put oneself in the mother's hands, open oneself to her by service, by bhakti, by aspiration. Then the Divine Mother, by her light and force, works in him so that the sadhana is done. It is a mistake also to have the ambition to be a big Purna Yogi or a supermental being and ask oneself how far I have got towards that. The right attitude is to be devoted and given to the mother and to wish to be whatever she wants you to be. The rest is for the mother to decide and do in you. If there is a refusal of the psychic new birth, a refusal to become the child newborn from the mother, owing to attachment to intellectual knowledge or mental ideas to some vital desires, then there will be a failure in the sadhana. Question. In our sadhana, at times we experience large descents of peace, force, ananda, which are usurped by our little human ego to make us feel that we shall belong to the mother's select band of Superman. Is this not a mistake? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, to want to be a Superman is a mistake. It only swells the ego. One can aspire for the divine to bring about the supramental transformation, but that also should not be done till the being has become psychic and spiritualized by the descent of the mother's peace, force, light, and purity. Question. What poise or mode should we keep for the supramental descent? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, as for poise or mode, that you need not trouble yourself about. An entire faith, opening, self-giving to the mother are the only conditions necessary throughout. Next subtopic, the vital's resistance to surrender. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I have said that the human vital does not like to be controlled or dominated by any other, and I said that also was a reason why sadhaks find it difficult to surrender to the mother. For the vital wants to affirm its own ideas, impulses, desires, preferences, and to do what it likes. It does not want to feel another force than that of its own nature leading or driving it. But surrender to the mother means that it must give up all these personal things and allow her force to guide and drive it in the ways of a higher truth, which are not its own ways. So it resists, does not want to be dominated by the true light, and the mother's force insists on its own independence and refuses to surrender. These ideas of breakdown and personal frustrations are again wrong suggestions, and the dissatisfaction with yourself is as harmful as almost as dissatisfaction with the mother would be. It prevents the confidence and courage necessary for following the path of the sadhana. You must dismiss these suggestions from you. Next subtopic, necessity of surrender to the mother. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, there is not much spiritual meaning in keeping opening to the mother if you withhold your surrender. Self-giving or surrender is demanded of those who practice integral yoga, because without such a progressive surrender of the being, it is quite impossible to get anywhere near the goal. To keep open means to call in her force to work in you, and if you do not surrender to it, it amounts to not allowing the force to work in you at all, or else only on condition that it will work in the way you want and not in its own way, which is the way of the divine truth. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, a suggestion of this kind is usually made by some adverse power or by some egoistic element of the mind or vital,
which wants the grace or the force, but only in order to use it for its own purpose, and is not willing to live for the divine purpose. It is willing to take from the divine all it can get, but not to give itself to the divine. The soul, the true being, on the contrary, turns towards the divine and is not willing but eager and happy to surrender. In this integral yoga, says our Lord, one is supposed to go beyond every mental idealistic culture. Ideas and ideals belong to the mind and are half truths only. The mind, too, is more often than not satisfied with merely having an ideal, with the pleasure of idealizing, while life remains always the same, untransformed or changed only a little, mostly in appearance. The spiritual seeker, says our Lord, the spiritual seeker does not turn aside from the pursuit of realization to mere idealizing. Not to idealize, but to realize the divine truth. The divine truth is always his aim, either beyond or in life also, and in the later case, it is necessary to transform mind and life, which cannot be done without surrender to the action of the divine force, the Mother.